and this is the most anticipated games. You had the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Hades 2, Yakuza Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, Star Wars Outlaws, and Tekken 8. And of course, the winners is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Although, and I'm not surprised about it because everybody's waiting for it because the first episode, let's say, was really good and everybody's waiting for it. But there was some tough competition on it. Like the Yakuza series is a bit niche, maybe. Maybe not everybody know Yakuza, but the Yakuza is a very well loved IP and it's always very fun games. You add Tekken 8, it's too niche, two fighting games. Not everybody's into. First of all, not everybody is into fighting, and is Tekken really that much better than a Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat? I'm not that much of a fighting addict, so it cannot be. It cannot be the winner. Hades 2, of course, Hades was fantastic. Korean can tell you all about it. But I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Hades is an indie game. Therefore, it doesn't have the weight of a Final Fantasy. You can't compare both. It's a great game and it will definitely win its category next year. We can already bet about that. But against the Final Fantasy, you can't. And of course, you had the Star Wars Outlaws, which I believe was the most serious competitors to Final Fantasy. But it didn't win, and I'm not surprised really about this for a couple of things. First of all, we have enough of Star Wars. You have a Star Wars movie or series every year, maybe twice a year. You had every year a game. You had the Battlefront 1, 2, you have a Jedi Survivors, the one before that. You have Jedi, Star Wars, we have it over here. So Star Wars Outlaws, it's a new take on the Star Wars franchise, but it's still a Star Wars. So even if the franchise is well loved, it's a bit like the Marvel superhero movies. Enough. Leave it some time before you release a new one. This is, and we also the gameplay. It's a gameplay which is very much like Horizon. It's kind of wide open world. Yes, it's fun because you can take off. Hi Starfield. You can take off from the planet straight into space, and you can fight straight away, which is a good point, especially after Starfield. But not enough. It's not enough, and of course, Final Fantasy is winning this sword, and it's overall not a surprise. But I was very happy with the nominees because it's a very strong competition. What do you guys think? Adam first.
There's always going to be a recency bias for a lot of categories. It's one of the hardest things to get around. But I think this one, in a way, the category really is as much most anticipated as it is best marketing. And I feel like of all these, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth has done the best marketing. Because if we got the first trailer and then Antoine and I, we did
A
the
review.
breakdown and then we got a second one. At the Game Awards. They dropped a third trailer. And I think, like, how many trailers have I seen for Dragon Infinite Wealth? Maybe one. How many I've seen for
None.
Star Wars Outlaw? They did the one and then they didn't bring it back anymore. I haven't seen anything, and I've seen maybe one on Hades 2. But Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, that they've been doing the trailers, they've been doing it fairly regularly. Their Twitter is really active with the marketing. Where between the trailers, they came out with the Kate Sith versus Ket Shi naming thing, and of course that blew up. So I think in terms of anticipation, it makes sense that this one got the winning award because I think their marketing has just really been on point, where they can just keep it constantly in people's periphery. And I think that's probably part of the reason why it won, because it is exclusive. It is only on PlayStation for a long time, and then it will go to PC, and then we don't know if it's going to go anywhere else.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Do you have any opinions on these anticipated games? Of course, I imagine that Hades 2 would take your fancy since you really like the first one.
I chose Final Fantasy. I'm like, because the rest of these can't even compete. I was like, this is actually was like whoever chose these games was like a losing competition. Like in terms of large communities, Hades 2 absolutely niche. Roguelike games are not everyone's fancy. Like I've only actually played one roguelike that was not a card game and actually enjoyed it. That was Hades 1. But even that, I can see lots of people, especially our demographic, getting very easily frustrated and just be like, no, I'm not going to play this anymore. Like a Dragon, again, you said it, Antoine. Too niche, too small, loved by a small number of people, and Star Wars Outlaws, again, Star Wars is a niche franchise. It's not like an EA, Madden, or like a NFL or a 2K stuff, which is where a lot of guy gamers play, or like a extroverted guy gamers play, right? Tekken 8, again, fighting games, right? Fighting games are cool, but fighting games you need someone else to play with, or you need to enjoy playing online. This was just like, why have one game? Put Final Fantasy 7 in there. You don't need other choices because it would have won automatically, in my opinion, anyway.